Welcome to our lovely future humans, our conscious regulated leaders, the 5D collective, the next generation of leads. Well, wait, is that right? I'm a marketer, I'm sorry. Oh. So, somatic mindset, micro habits. They're not pretend, but do you know why? So yeah, in an earthquake scenario, and then later on, from the earthquake, as you all know, the ones who tuned in, panic attack came around. But I got to meet up with friends and they all talked about this earthquake thing, of course, and I have some funny stories for you, and none of them are actual somatic mindset micro habiting people, meaning they don't do the practices of self-regulation and differentiation in the way that I'm gonna let you in on. Fun fact, the PDFs serve those who do what I've been doing. It's not a special team though. Being a regulated leader simply means you regulate yourself and you're leading yourself, which is why we don't have spiritual bypassers and we don't have somatic bypassers. They, though, will think that we are pressuring them to do something, because that's the part about they get overwhelmed with their emotional stuff. Then they'll twist it and say we're lying to them. In fact, some will point a finger at a 5D mystic, a spiritual one, say they are all the devils and demons, and they've been doing this for a long time. Even the ones who are, the witch hunts. There's no witch hunts anymore. Wait, what was it? The other thing that I was going to say? My mind went blank, but yes. The somatic countertransference. We're all somatic empaths, which means we heal each other. We're all embodied brains, nervous systems, co-regulate. It's not emotions that are contagious. I have stories of that one. So luckily, I know how to differentiate and link again and again and again. I got advised, thank you, Dr. Dana Siegel, when I asked again, without mentioning that I'm a mystic, so I pick up my oversoul, my twin flames are involved in this, the three of them, then all of the people, my oversoul, then the entire earth, and then beyond. But wait for it, because the sciences have an answer for us. We are all embodied brains. So thanks to lovely Stephen Porges and Tara Brock in the summit that I watched way back when, and they informed me we pick up on each other's nervous system. So like the bears, we pick up on each other, which is where I was like, that's why it's getting lighter. It's not the 5 waves of twin flames. That has nothing to do with where our species is headed. It's that our biology is evolving. So some of us know how to self-regulate, check. And with those somatic mindset micro habit practices on PayHip, the free PDF, by the way, that's 2 frameworks. And then there's more inner growth mindset practices for those of you who walk like an Egyptian. So when I thought of this human being who made a great point, how does your framework, Maria, help people? And who are you helping? I came up with a sentence. So before we continue with the episode about how nobody's doing it wrong, because we all have a different window of tolerance, of course. You have to be nervous system sovereign in order for any of personal growth or spiritual growth to happen, because otherwise you're faking it, not going to be like, that's what I forgot, the masks. So we don't perform like we have no mask. Our performance is a healthy perfectionist in front of you who knows how to expand my window of tolerance to want to welcome even when the earth is shaky, shaky, shaky. And I didn't shit my pants, and my neighbor didn't either, and we laughed together. So we all did a little bit of humor, but I did not run in my underwear. And I would not have ran in my underwear because they gave us very good instructions, but I remembered teenagers in high school failing a very specific way that teachers tested us on this. They did it on purpose. I think I got to like college and they did that again, which made me think, how many times does it take for you to understand, read the directions? And I don't like reading directions. It's the most tedious of them all, which is why I have my lovely life partner. He loves to get all into those details. I'm like, please help me out. I just don't want to try. Okay, fine, I'll try. So it's good to try the things you don't like to do, because that's how the bright sides of neuroplasticity works, which is why you always want to be self-sufficient, not by thinking you can't count on anyone. No, actually, that's not anywhere near what life partnership is. And, our lovely human herd, of course. So I don't watch my back for backstabbers, because the betraying thing with the core wounds in the picture, the rejection thing, the humiliation thing, the abandonment thing, and the injustice thing, they're not bleeding. Because I learned from Jesus Christ how to forgive, turn the other cheek. Blessed are those who believe without seeing. Don't cast a stone. Respect your elders, your honors, all of that. And remember who's God. And FYI, I know who God is, which is why those 5 core wounds, they're all human stuff. But the ones who use the somatic mindset micro habits, they want to self-regulate, differentiate, and anchor in ventral energy is what you're doing, because we want to co-regulate, because again, somatic countertransference is not icky. It's like, oh no, you have cooties. It took me a while to get used to big man, baby, child, friend. And that's because some of the times where they've been out, way back when we began to become friends, not by my volition, by someone saying, don't be mean to him, you're nice to everybody else. So long story short though, I needed to keep him at an arm's length, because his sympathetic was driving my nervous system into, no, it was reminding my brain of panic attacks because I was perceiving it. And Dr. Daniel Siegel explained, when you're present, attuning, resonating, trusting, that's beautiful. This is why you'll pick up on stuff. It doesn't contagion you because you know how to self-regulate, and you're like, I picked up on some stuff. It wasn't my stuff. Oh, of course, my panic attacks keep coming to my mind because that's what I suffer, but I got it. And so you autonomously self-regulate, and that's why micro habits, they're not tricks up the sleeve. No, they actually work in a way, where are you? Yes. Biological survival and rapid recovery. And actually, I haven't even been through the shit that other people have been through. So my panic attacks and pure fear and the earthquakes continue to help me to try to practice that which I don't want to preach to you about. As for God, oh, by the way, everyone's perfect, obviously, if they get to their restorative embodiment. If they don't, we're not cutting people out of our lives. We've moved into the 5th dimension. Dharma time, and Dharma rebalances, and karma is your actions, and none of these are bad or good words. And please, science, as our lovely Neil deGrasse points out, you can know enough about a subject matter to think you're right, but not enough about the subject matter to know you're wrong. There are those who wear masks because the emotionally immature person does not know how to love themselves unconditionally with flaws and imperfections. So while all of those other authors are authoring and giving you PDFs, that I'm going to say there's therapists to heal yourself, like Pat Ogden, one of the ones I would go to if ever I can. And that's because she's brilliant. But my point is, personal growth, spiritual growth is not for healing, that's for growing. If you want to heal yourself, you go and do that. Otherwise, there's a bunch of people. Pressure, judgment, sometimes my judgmental ass, so yes, I make fun of those who are weak. And that is why I'm admitting it. I make fun of a lady who says, women, gather round. Remember when they fuck you after they're done. Don't think it. And I was like, what? Wedding bells. And that's when I said, no, you're trash. The ignorant boys and girls told me when I was a teenager. And now a grown woman, they're still saying the same bullshit words. And there's a bunch of more ignorant ones who continue with it. And I'm just like, wow. This ignorance thing is really not bliss, but oh my gosh, they're all like teenager versions of themselves. That's why Peter Pan and the Lost Boys keep having hook and fun, and that's why they keep on made for the people by the people. I studied political science. I got my disappointment a long time ago, but you know God, He always has a plan. And I also saw cosmic karmic balancing. Tomorrow's an 8-8 portal. I have never had fear of the spiritual ascension stuff. In fact, there are those who say, the ones who are doing a bad job should be afraid. And I'm like, I know I judge the ones who are not yet with the window welcome, and I'm trying to fess up. That's not cool. You did the hard work. This is someone who says, I did the hard work. Those who didn't do the hard work, it's like, okay, life isn't that. Life is a mystery. So, same earthquake, different nervous systems. This is what happens when you are a somatic, divine empowered feminine, mindset, divine empowered masculine, microhabiting ventral pivoter, because why would you not use your love? Love shack is a little, why would you not use the open heart? You can't actually move into self if you don't do self-compassion. So we have self-compassion and honesty. I'm a scaredy cat. I was a scaredy cat at 2 or whatever age. My mom put me on a Ferris wheel and she said I did not take my eyes off of her. And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, why'd you put me on it? So my 2-year-old, she's still here. So I help spiritual and conscious regulated leaders navigate reactive survival loops with self-compassionate honesty and steady empowering composure using somatic mindset micro habits. Check out the free PDF on PayHip, and there's also a 1-day inner growth mindset guide with the same 2 frameworks, and you can use that as you continue to move into the future. Future humans, we're here. We don't need the aliens or the Pleiadians or the Atlanteans or the Lemurians, all of that, which, by the way, I'm still going to be channeling and downloading, so I'm not dissing it. I'm saying we don't need all of that to become the future humans. Our species, This is the one thing about mask. I don't have a mask. My name's Maria. I'm a rational being. I'm in an embodied brain, and I got to explain exactly how my embodied brain works. And no two nervous systems are alike, which is why when someone says you're impossible, I say no, I don't suffer life, and I can explain it to you. The insula, I keep pointing here. I don't know if it's here, guys, but FYI, whoever will have seen it, like, she's lying. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Yeah, so don't jump to conclusions. I fuck up the words. I fuck up a lot of things. What I'm trying to say is being yourself is easy for those who never abandoned themselves, never thought of giving up or collapsing or any of that. And God and I have consistent communication. Also, enlightened ones, the Enlightenment Soul Age exists. It's not pretending, but it's not, you can't prove that the inner world is the part. So the goal of Polyvagal-Informed therapy is not to eliminate the stress response. We need our sympathetic, FYI, so the survival is not going to be deleted, but to restore the nervous system's capacity. I didn't lose this capacity for flexibility. Neuroscientists inform us of metastability, and they try to say the body has nothing to do with it, but it all is an embodied brain. So metastability means you, with the flow state, have the flexibility to navigate left and right, which is what you see in front of you, which is why the expert gurus and the enlightened ones and the expert yogis, those who think I'm a charlatan, I'm not, but that's okay. I can't prove to you my embodied brain, nor do I have time to tell you about my whole 46 years of life. And actually, anybody who thinks of manipulation, lies, and consistently is an unhealthy skeptic doesn't know what effective realism distortions are. So I do know what they look like. I might say, well, it is right, that feels right. And then a Zen master who thinks that laundry is what we all have. I cry, Zen master, it's not laundry. Insula lights up, temporal junction, which means I will relate to the things that took place in the past, my embodied brain. When you're in a physiological state of compassion, just so you know, I have the explanation of how our embodied brain is. Then the amygdala is alerted because something needs my attention, which would be a human being out there, so I can help them get up off the floor. I'm 4'9". If it's a bunch of men, I might not. It depends. If I have a good feeling, I'll say, okay, 50-50. I don't want to leave them on the floor. If I have a sketchy feeling, I'll be like, I'm so sorry. I'm a coward. Right now, you're giving me bad vibes. So I don't trust my instincts. No, I do trust my instincts. Also, I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I have a judgmental asshole like anybody else. I just admit it. I don't wear a mask, and I'll never wear a mask. Because anytime someone's describing to me what this fake shit is, I'm like, oh my God, this feels so painful. I'm like right here. I'm like, no, I'm not going to hang around any of this. I can't actually do it, by the way. I can't fake it. I can't lie. But I realized when I was a teenager, when I was telling the truth, as my teenage boyfriend at the time said, you only believe because you're afraid of death. No. And we had these big argument. And then there was some other stuff, and people like wouldn't believe the truth. And I'm like, so if I lie to you, you might believe me. But if I tell you the truth, you won't believe me. And there's no way for me to prove the truth. So really, it's not a pickle. It's more of, fascinating. Okay, cool. So I'm going to tell truths. Then I learned about what people do with your truths. And then you learn about white lies. And then you learn as you grow up, there's a rainbow of colors. What was it? The ability to move in and out of states of activation in proportion to actual present moment conditions. You want me to reread that again? Deb Dana. The goal of Polyvagal-Informed therapy is not to eliminate the stress response, but to restore the nervous system's capacity for flexibility, the ability to move in and out of states of activation in proportion to actual present moment conditions. So when you're using your embodied brain, the earthquake thing, let's talk about this before I lose any of you. And this is why it's an empowered composure. It's not a fake kind. You're not wearing a mask. And the ones that I make fun of, I got it. They didn't want to go to therapy. The lady says she's going to dismantle with her one little finger modern day therapist. That should have told her something about her ego, but also the red flag that she's refusing. And it's like, let me out. Her 3 years, let me out. I want out. But she's like, no, you're not. I'm going to stay armored, shut in. And she's got people bowing down. You know what makes me laugh even more? The millions that people pay to each other to fake it. I'm not joking. See, I'm telling you. I'm like, what? And that's why God, at a certain point, he chimed in. Because Buddha was making fun of me. You don't know all the story. Jesus was staring me down. I was like, I don't know why Jesus is staring me down, but I know why Buddha's making fun of me. I made fun of him. I'm like, where's the future Buddha? We need the future one who can be and do at the same time, because it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. This is what it feels like when you are the 3-year-old, the 5-year-old. So I have never succumbed to any of that, which is, I didn't have a scary parent. Or what I should say is I did this. You can't spank me. It's my body. And then she spanked me. And then I went to make my suitcase. And that's called temperament. And then I corrected the biological father of mine. By the third time, he called me the wrong name. I have an identical twin, and I said, I'm Maria. And I still have the same look. At least that's according to my primary caregiver. So with that being said, when you meet teenagers, they're faking it, which is what I was trying to get to, the clowns. And those are the people that I was making fun of. So Buddha wasn't just making fun of me because I made fun of him. And actually, he's a sage. He's enlightened. He wasn't making fun of me because I made fun of him because he gets jokes. High five, Buddha. He was making fun of me because there was something I was missing. And I knew it. I just didn't have the answer to it yet. As for Jesus, every now and then he'd smile, and I'm like, okay. And then when God chimed in, it was like thunder. Not in a bad way. It was hilarious. Thanks, God. So he knows how to communicate with me, and I know how to recognize, oh, God is discerning equanimous love. That's the title of the chapter of a book I'm a co-author of, The Ways to God, Through the Heart. And so his timbre has never been scary. When I saw cosmic karmic balancing take place, I got scared and worried, and then I got relieved and at ease. And today I can tell you, yes, there is a plan. Everything happens for a reason. Every action has a reaction, and everything that is meant to come will always find its way to you. But we have not been determined. Thanks, Robert Spolsky, although some would say they have been. So you can only train your mind if you will have trained the two sides of your brain, meaning you own your embodied brain, and you can wield your emotional, mental, and physical plane. So fear, it's definitely scary. Sadness, definitely easy to get over a heartbreak and more, because seriously, are you going to kill yourself? No, it's a sin, but today without that word, because I'm going to scratch that word. The ones who want to stay in the ignorance, they have betrayed their calling. So, the soul, thank you, where are you, Richard Schwartz? Securely attached people are more self-led and have access to all their emotional charges. Soul is calling the essence of their being. Science has proven how we can access our soul. Science has proven the taintedness and the unfortunate business of trauma charges that cover up. And those who don't want to believe in it, they were going to continue to call us manipulators, liars, and a lot of more words. But you better bet I don't have a dirty conscience. And those who do don't know it. And I'm not going to say they are dirty conscious, because corruptible people are corruptible due to the fact that they have weak egos. And they have weak egos, I'm sorry, God, I'm going to correct that, because they were treated in ways that were not necessary. So the ones who people think are the most unworthy of love, they are actually in need of that love. Now, that does not mean that you're going to do anything to change the course of that journey, because the dark sides of neuroplasticity looks pretty shitty. And the emissary and whatever, there's a book of the left, I got it, how it works. And there's a bunch of jokes that I understood. So once a person is using only their amygdala because they're not in a physiological state of compassion, what did I say? Insula lights up, my body's good. The temporal junction, I will relate to the past events, which is why when my big man, baby child friend got into sympathetic, I'm thinking panic attacks, because it's reminding my body of the same dysregulation. But I knew already I'm picking up on his nervous system because I'm attachment trauma educated. And so all I did was differentiate and link and keep him a little bit distant, and I got used to it. And eventually you are going to create your mui. So we have our own mui. With all of our people, that's called relational integrity. So I'm not afraid of somatic countertransference. How dare people say, I'm a healer, you're not really a healer, number one, because you can't heal another. But if you really are going to, it's going to be with compassion. But that's only if the other person is wanting to do self-reflection, awareness, grow, and actually self-regulate, which, by the way, when they feel you're pressuring them to get over something, no, but you can process emotions in a more mature way if you expanded your window tolerance to want to welcome. And that's why open-ended curiosity. And so journaling supports those who want to grow. Personal growth, spiritual growth, those who pretend it, they don't do shit with it except for feed each other fish and not teach each other how to fish. And you can't make someone actually learn to self-regulate autonomously if they haven't gotten the opportunity when they were young. But that's why there's the Somatic-Mindset therapists out there. Therapy is amazing for those who want to embody their real self. No two nervous systems are alike. And getting to know how your nervous system works leads you along the path to becoming an active operator of your own system, no matter how it is wired. Thank you again, Deb Dana. Okay, so I bring spiritual and mystical and personal. And if you check out PayHip, you'll find those lovely sources, the Somatic-Mindset micro habits, so that you can continue being yourself, no mask, no fake composure, and it's not I'm positive all the time. So here's where regulated, conscious leaders, like my lovely life partner, can tell when I'm scared. So here's what came out of the mouth with friends of mine, you were so calm, you were so calm. I was like, I wasn't calm. That's not what it sounded like inside of me. I was definitely not like freaking out. I have a friend of mine, here's one of the people, they ran out in their underwear. As they're telling me this, I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, I ran out in the underwear. I thought everybody would have run out with the underwear. And I was like, you're not supposed to run out in the middle of the street. And he's like, no, my mezzanine. I'm not going to have my mezzanine fall on me. So I'm guessing his roof is not as strong. I don't know. But then my other friends, one of them is not here at all. They're far away. So they were probably like, thank goodness I skipped it. Well, another friend of mine ran down the stairs with the mom, with the nephew. And I'm like, again, the stairs, you're not supposed to run. You're supposed to wait. But they don't trust sources. In fact, someone had said the app might be fake. It's not telling us the truth. Then other people, they were out in the middle of the street and they went to aggregate like all together somewhere. And they were like, no, we didn't go home. We stayed all together. And so they got into group. I, on the other hand, was by myself. And my neighbor and I, though, we were together for a bit because you're supposed to open the door immediately. This is where, if you don't know, there's instructions they give you, which is why I was calm, meaning I wasn't like, because the magma's not going to come out, thankfully. And I really dislike the spiritual bypassing and somatic bypassing community who continue to create that, which is a lot of unnecessary commotion. But let me leave that because, thank you, Neil, as he points out, you can know enough about a subject matter to think you're right, but not enough to know you're wrong. That's for all of us, every professional out there. But what you'll find is that those who are leaders, they will empower you and they will actually be epistemically curious. So they will not be shallow-minded, small-minded, nor will they talk to you in labels, right and wrong, in a way of a group and a bad group. And all the ones who are playing to a crowd, yes, they, whether it be political, religious, all of those subjective beliefs that people have, when someone's using them to separate people, those who will fall for it, they will be the same people who will look at me and think that I am a manipulator, a liar, that I'm a charlatan, whatever it is, because they're reactive. So those two extreme groups, with their effective realism, their distortion, they can continue pretending. And that's why, wow, when I do that, it's those bullshit seminars that people pay millions to and that they don't do shit with. And they just look pretty. No, I mean, the reality is I know what they look like on the inside and they don't look awful. I'm just thinking of the poor 3-year-old that I want to hug. And then I'm thinking, sure, you can dress it up as much as you want. You're not a leader because the minute something hits, I'm going to watch as you crumble, and that ain't going to look funny because it's going to be a bunch of people who thought you were helping them. So I'm going to pause myself, but I'm trying to share with you all. I do understand not everyone has their window tolerance. And I understand that to get to that open-ended curiosity, the physiological state of compassion, there's a journey. I understand it because I have courses. Where are you, Dr. Dan? And as Dr. Daniel Siegel pointed out, there is a process. There is a process for integration. In fact, every form of regulation, like regulating attention, so here's where mindset training, mindfulness training, mindsight, all of it. You just put it all in. Mindsight is Dr. Daniel Siegel's. You can use your executive decision-making function. Awesome. It won't be hard. So the capacity, though, to regulate is based on bilateral vertical overall integration, okay? And so if you can promote more integration, you're going to increase flexibility. And there's, again, the word flexibility. So integration makes more flexibility. The nervous system, when it has its regulated capacity, allows you to grow, okay? So securely attached, the 4 S's, Dr. Daniel Siegel says, make the framework. He calls it a framework, I think, or one of his emails. But I'm soothed, safe, secure. I see myself, I soothe myself, I save and secure myself. I'm a securely attached human being. Richard Schwartz, again, as he points out, so you will have access to that which is your soul, the essence of you, and all your emotional charges. So you can discern, which is why people who think I'm pressuring them or judgmental, sometimes, again, I am, because I'm making fun of people who basically need help, but those people with their one little fingers want to dismantle modern day therapists. Just like a shaman who says, come to me and don't go to therapy. No, shaman, that's not nice. But you better bet someone who looks at me and thinks I'm faking it because I say I don't suffer life, I have emotions. I think I can't prove it to you. I could rip my skin off, I could kill myself, whatever it was, and I wouldn't do any of these things, might I add. But my point is, someone who says bullshit, I say, this is unprovable, but I can't explain it to you. However, I probably would not to any of those, except for two people I explained it to. The suffering thing, one of which my life partner, who saw it and eventually was like, oh, okay, yeah, now I got it, the explanation. And the other person got a little bit pissy with me, but then they would calm down because I know how to handle my friends. It's like, I'm not saying you have to do it. I'm just explaining to you how I work. You know what I do, I said. I'm a lot of things, but personal growth mentor, coach, content creator, online marketer, podcast host, all these great things. Okay, so let me see if I covered all the bases of these lovely stories. But the performative guru, the performative Zen, laundry, so performative anything, there's two types of people. The ones who are faking it, and like I said, it's not that they can't go and get their window of tolerance to become theirs, they can. Once you know your window of tolerance, that's what I hadn't finished reading. The lovely Deb Dana. No two nervous systems are exactly alike, and getting to know how your nervous system works leads you along the path to becoming an active operator of your own. So just you wield yourself. I like to say it that way. No matter how it is wired. You wield yourself because you're securely attached. And those who didn't have it will wire themselves. They will get embodied brain regulated because they will honor themselves, which is why they will honor the gift that God gave them. And those who dishonor those of us who are different because they know nothing about integration and embodied brain. Oh, excuse me. There's a man, his name is Patrick McNamara. He's a neuroscientist, and he explains what the embodied brain does. Decentralizing the self and religious experiences. When you explain to spiritual bypasser and somatic bypassers that evil doesn't exist, and then you hear intellectuals who want to keep using the word evil in their little presentations, I'm trying to dismantle that word and say there is no evil inside the body of anyone because God made us perfect. But remember, one day we're going to do knock knock, who's there? The people who know of how our world works and who would love to take the children you said you loved off the planet before the sun does the thing that the sun does. So I'm going to pause because I have a lot of different pieces of information and stories, and I know that sometimes I've had interactions with people who are, let me put it this way, unhealthy skeptics. So they just want to pick at a topic, and they don't know enough about a topic to make it into a nice conversation. So then the moment of truth is where if you have an adaptive child part person, that's an insecure human being who doesn't know how to wield their own nervous system. So they're not actually engaging in an interaction in a way of having a good time, in the way of being curious. It's, I have positions of beliefs that I think are facts, and there's your effective realism distortion, there's your adaptive child part, there's a right and a wrong, there's the split thinking, there's a survival reactive loop of a person who doesn't even notice it. I'll notice it because of the way they're engaging in conversation with me, and I will immediately shut down, not because I don't want to speak. This is no longer fun. I'm having a conversation. I'm not having a debate. If I wanted a debate, I would have stayed in college. I would have become someone who did debating. I didn't want to debate. And so my forte is not to regurgitate a bunch of shit to people in general, and I also know why. Thanks God I got that gift. I thought of it as not a gift when I was a teenager, but it is a gift because the way that I am, I would have spent way too much time interacting with people that I need not interact with, because you don't shame, you don't actually push people to evolve. Humanity evolves because we are biologically evolving. Those who don't understand how science and spirituality come together, it's a pity. And decentralizing the self and religious experiences. Thank you, Patrick McNamara. I honor the work and you proving there's no embodied brain demon inside of anyone. As for the ones who are in cloaks and continuing to do that which I told God a long time ago, all of them, they all, not only have they failed, they're not doing their soul's calling, they're continually hurting a bunch of people, children and whatnot. And when someone says, but there's also good, yes, well, all of those who are doing good, they are, in my subjective opinion, able then to understand when the Dalai Lama made the call, we were all here to teach compassion, we should all come together. So if all of these institutions, all of them from the spiritual community, don't come together under one umbrella, well, I know why. Because that's where ego wants to spotlight itself, and that's the part of where you're. Has anybody watched Gladiator? If you haven't, there's a scene in the Gladiator In fact, I talked about it with my life partner. I said, I forget actually which one of the questions I asked, but I watched a scene, and as I'm watching this one scene, okay, so the guy, if you haven't seen it, watch some of it, but the son is completely insecure. You know this. You know this from the beginning to the end, and at a specific moment in time, I'm like, if you're smart, you're going to do this, because you have no chance of beating this guy. Obviously, I know it's a movie, but that's not the point. My point is he actively did that which all of those who are insecure do, which is please a crowd, which makes you not a leader. So what I'm trying to get to is, if you want to tell me that you're committed to calling and that we have all good, yes, we have a lot of good spiritual everyone's, then they all can come together, because this is not a divisive place. The land of spirituality, we already have the lovely scientists who get to pick at us, but I understand that, and in the meantime the scientists get to pick at each other too. So what happens when people are picking at each other, FYI? You're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong. How many 3-year-olds are there in a fucking room? Okay? And so the adaptive child part person is going to be reactive. The survival reactive thing does nothing for anybody who's empowered. It's you do you, I'll do me. Now for the earthquake thing, I have 3 twin flames, I got panic attacks, so my window of tolerance is a window welcome. Doesn't mean I was calm. In fact, this is the part, I was not calm. I'm not going to say I was freaking out, because I wasn't, but my body was scared. It was dysregulated, because that's it. Well, I don't know if the correct term is dysregulated, but it was activated. So you can feel it. I could feel it. My hips got a bunch of the stiffness. The ones who are hearing me can't see. I need to remember that. And so I knew that my root got all stiff because I'm taking the hit. Also, we're picking up on all the neighbor, everyone. So those who don't believe that we are picking up on each other, again, I'm not going to make people understand we're biology and that we're a species, because it's just so simple to me, like the bees and the birds. So we're a species and we co-regulate. We will have learned how to self-regulate thanks to co-regulation. And so once you're familiar with your own self and you're self-regulating again and again and again, it's called you differentiate and link. Thanks, Dr. Daniel Siegel. And so my MWE never gets fucked with. Doesn't mean I don't get activated. It means when I do, I use the SMART micro habit frameworks. Stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. And that's because, do you think I don't put into practice what I sell? The difference is I know the only ones who will have any kind of personal growth, spiritual growth, success, and leadership success in a way of bringing into the future that which our human makeup is made for, and that means love, are those who are regulated leaders. The 5D collective. We're here, we have been here, and now we're moving into the 7th dimension. As for 3D, 4D, I was told they wouldn't follow along. No, I was told that they wouldn't come join us, but that's the part. No one is ever going to say it's a done deal, because even though Determined, Robert Sapolsky says, and I haven't read the book yet, Robert, but I beg to differ, because there are those of us who care, and there's one thing I know that 3-year-old wants. Let me out, I want out, I want out. I want to go play with the kids. Please let me go play. And it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and we're all Smurfs, yay! So, children of God are all loved, and the Cains of the world, I told them, you're loved too, you just don't know it yet. As for the whole thing of where people think in ways of, I did the work and they didn't, that's no. But I get it, because again, I can be just as irritated by the insecure person, the fake one, the fake regulated ones, the ones who have the platforms who get bowed down to by a bunch of people. So, here is where, let me read before I forget, otherwise. When Dr. Daniel Siegel explained how integration works, he says, takes, at a certain point during integration, like the brain goes through a process or something like that, but 6 to 8 weeks neuroplasticity for new synapses to connections to be created. So the bright sides of neuroplasticity, which is why we also have Somatic-Mindset micro habits, the inner growth mindset practices, and the journal prompts, so you're journaling. So you're not changing yourself. Those who are still healing themselves, they go and hang out. Once they're done healing and they're finally ready to be and do, it's, hey, what's up? And you don't wear the fucking mask, because you would never wear it in a million years. If I don't know what it's like. Again, I have never pretended to be Maria. I have simply learned how to recalibrate myself whenever I'm around dorks, morons, idiots, and my teenager was full of them, because that's exactly how many were insecure, and I was not insecure. I just wasn't going to shot through the heart. Anyways, actually, you know, we all can be considered crooked by others. So that's why we all have flaws and imperfections. I've hurt people's feelings. I didn't do it on purpose, but I did. Oh, I'm sure there's people who think I'm awful. Actually, there's a woman who's afraid of me. So let me not forget the stories. But the 6 to 8 weeks, the new synapses, and then he goes on. Then there's laying down a myelin, and this is where 6 to 8 weeks. There's no shortcuts. Like Kundalini awakening, the guy who explained it well, it don't take over your system. That's called psychosis. That needs therapy. So let's all be responsible and remember distortion. People who have not integration and they choose to disregard that epistemic trust is broken for those who didn't have a strong foundation, not because they were meant to be weak. No, they were very strong. In fact, every single human being has strength. Their first 8 years of life, they do everything they can, and that 0-8-year-old is codependent and needs to have enough of that 1/3 attunement and repairing ruptures and talked to and shown. And so remember, please, that we are here to leave a legacy behind, and we will, because our species has never failed us. The ones who think they have, their faith in humanity has been broken, and they obviously forget who God is and his perfection. The ones in cloaks who I'm disappointed in, I got it. Maybe they're there to please a crowd. I don't know. But when someone wants to tell me they're still doing good stuff, or one wants to tell me they're horrible and shitty, any extreme is called, okay, how about we pause, breathe, and let's start again? Can we? Because we have different subjective opinions, beliefs, and so we don't need to get upset about this because it's a conversation. Because nobody is going to be dismantling it for spiritual. Now, if you want to prove to me your 20 books are right, well, you know, there's your pseudo-intellectuals. I'm pseudoscience because I'm not a scientist. But my point is that's where the left brain comes in. So there's no bothering to try and talk to someone who's an adaptive child part. Terry real word, because they just want to be right. They don't actually have an interaction with you from a green. There's Stephen Porges, they're in a red. So you're not talking to someone who's engaging with you for the pleasure of engaging and getting to know you. They want to be right or wrong, and that's a battle that doesn't need to be. So your survival defensive loop is unnecessary. And here's where empowered composure, so self-compassion, honesty, I can be activated. Yes, there's not fake positivity here. But a Zen master tells me enlightenment is not possible because of laundry. Zen master, you don't know how to cry. Well, no, I'm sorry. Apparently, every time you cry, well, rejection does hit the part of the brain that gets stabbed in the heart, like if you were actually stabbed. So physically speaking, it explains. People die from heart attacks. Yes, there's a brilliant man. I forget which of the scientific community, if psychology or neuroscience, but he explains a number of things, even with superstition and this heart thing. I forgot his name. It was a really great speech and informational, the well or big thing. So nobody is going to do nervous system wrong, but those who did not learn how to self-regulate are not doing what they were meant to do. And their wiring doesn't have to stay not securely attached. In fact, they can go to good mindful therapists, get whole, see yourself, soothe yourself, safe, secure yourself. Now that you've earned your own secure attachment, now you walk with those of us who say, yes, great, I will help to point out to you those who are emotionally immature. And then I'll point you to Therapy Nutshell Lady, who tells us how to work with people who are emotionally immature. I don't need it, but there's a perfect model over there. I give the people that want to do the smart micro habit to be yourself and to be a regulated leader, and that's in all environments. So you don't worry about somatic countertransference. There's no cutting of cords. Our twin flames don't send us up and down in the merry-go-round. Every ascension energy, there's not up and down because you know self-regulation. It's not pressure. It's called equanimity, and that's common-centered, and it's your ventral pivoting. It's your baseline. And so in an earthquake, I was in my baseline because in 5 seconds, there's your Somatic-Mindset micro habit. It's okay. Go check the cracks. My baby sister, she gave me a good idea. She's a grown woman now, but I still like to call her my baby sister. So she's smart, very smart. And so she gave me something that reassured my rational brain and that I'll keep in mind in the future. In the meantime, the people who were in the middle of the street, I'm like, that's dangerous because buildings can fall. The friend of mine who ran with his underwear went back in to change, but then he went back out and stayed out the entire evening. The other friend, they stayed home by themselves, but luckily their other family members were able to go farther away. And in all of this, we have technology that is updating us that it's not going to, nothing's going to blow up, but you know, everybody is pretty much upset because downtown, another area, Pozzuoli downtown is full of a lot of damage. And I think there were 20 injured and like 300 homeless now. So they're like, okay, enough is enough. So they're in protest and trying to get that bare minimum to be able to live and to be able to get a roof. And I am a firm believer of community coming together. I don't actually think getting in your sympathetic helps at all. In fact, it simply has you being, when anger takes place, the hippocampus gets saturated with cortisol. So when someone is with their survival defensive mode, they're not thinking clearly, which is why they're not an effective leader. And so while community wants to come together, community always comes together between businesses and governments. And so we continue to do what we do best, which is pivot. Every so often things come about. Now the ones who want a reason of why or however, I mean, we came from caves. There's an actual explanation. We didn't have electricity. We didn't have technology. Like if you stay grounded in reality with no conspiracies and any dark forces of evil trying to come and get you. Okay, so grounded in reality. Thank you, Sam Harris. The grounded in reality quote is basically none of your cherishable beliefs, no, any of your cherishable beliefs can be falsifiable. This is why it's an empowered composure. Again, an earthquake hits, you're going to get activated. I'm going to get activated. How we react is going to be what we have been practicing. So with my panic attacks, with my capacity to also then have instructions given to me, I'm able to maintain a better sense of calm. Basically, I'm able to stay grounded. The self-agent in my prefrontal cortex with my self-compassion and honesty, it's okay to be afraid and your body's going to do its thing. And so the friends of mine who think I'm calm, they just think I didn't react because I didn't go running in the street with my underwear, which I probably would not do unless the roof was falling. But no, that's the part. They said, don't run down the stairs. So I'm like, I can't run down the stairs. It's dangerous. And some people looked at me weird, like, what? And what if the stairs break and then you can't get down at all? I don't know what to tell you. Would you stop giving me these scenarios, please? It's always going to be a 50-50. So we live under the sky, Chicken Little. And so the lovely, lovely other stories. Wait for it. No, I'm done with the stories for the earthquake. The panic attack. So that panic attack came like 4 or 5 days. I forget. You can watch the episode. I tell you a little bit more about that. But I did notice the signs that day, and then the intruding thoughts, and then that's when my baby sister helped me again, and my mother, and my twin, and my niece, and so I got to be supported. And I was like, well, who knows, because my twin had had a panic attack, so that might have been why, because we're connected. We've had things like that happen before. Plus taking in the hit of all the fear around me, and so we do absorb the energy around us, but luckily, again, your body heals itself. And so when you're self-regulating, that's why eustress is what you can use at certain points versus the distress. At least this is the part of where when you're able to recognize, breathe, and you're not using the distress that comes from the survival defensive mode. Don't write it down. It's not perfection. Remember, I fuck it up, forget it. But there is eustress, thank you, Dr. Danny Siegel, and then there's distress, and I can't explain it like he does. Just saying. And I'm still getting used to being able to just chit-chat about these things versus thinking about the ones, excuse me, you're confusing science spirituality. Excuse me, you don't know what you're talking about with that body shit. Yeah, that's all fake crap. What are you saying? Are we all just 3 nervous system responses? Technically, well, actually, excuse me, there's the fight, flight, freeze, flop, drop, collapse, submit. There's the 3 ones, collapse, submit, and oh man, I forgot those, but they're a combination of it, and it is a fascinating one. So with all that being said, we don't want to use knee-jerk reactions. When I get a bit judgmental, it's because I'm making fun of the fake regulated leaders, and that's because I don't want them to keep pretending to lead you because they're not leading anyone. So I'm not going to spotlight them specifically, but I am going to continue talking to you all about my irritation. And it's not because I don't understand that some people might not ever move into their securely attached whole self with an integrated brain, being a restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating person, and know what the blissed out flow state is like, because selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and richness is not something they will be able to pivot through. Effortlessness is when your body's like, because without the self and without the time, the body is like, you where are you? I understand it. The mind has an actual way of experiencing itself. Dr. Dana Siegel is brilliant. So the mind has a sense of self, which is why it's not trying to trick you. But yes, it can trick us. Remember my life partner story with me seeing something different because I know he tells me the truth all the time, and I trust his truth, and I also trust, which is why I said remember this moment, because I actually tricked my own eyes to see something different. So if you're ever wrong, then we're kind of fucked. So please try not to be wrong, or anyways, try to keep it in mind. So, but this is when I thought of when I got taught about what happens to children whose epistemic trust is broken and why they can't trust their gut and distortion. And so it's not something that I'm not familiar with, which is why I'm not actually surprised at the leadership that is around there. I just know we're not headed in that direction. And then when conspiracy theorists and spiritual bypassers and somatic bypassers give people who are actually dysregulated these roles, like we need them. So anytime someone's saying we need, I'm like, we motivate ourselves together. We're a pack. And yes, we are made with many different, but we're still the same embodied brain. And so we have self-regulated people and not. Which is why, who wins? Life wins. Compassion. Thanks, Dalai Lama. As he pointed out, the religious ones failed. And I'm saying they didn't fail, but they can fix things. Yes, by taking ownership. All the ones who want to tell me they want to lead, then they can learn how to tell the truth. Decentralizing the self and religious experiences isn't fake. So when someone looks me in the eye and says, God doesn't need science, Maria, so sorry you're rejected, and they tell me how they're explaining this shit to them, the excuse of why they're not why they're not updating. There's no demons inside the body of anyone. There's no evil inside the body of anyone. So when I hear that and I'm getting told that I'm rejected, and I'm like, I don't actually feel guilty or ashamed of being rejected by people who actually don't understand God. Perfect. Science proves. Human. Not perfect. Healthy perfectionists know we're always going to be activated. So again, but you see what I'm saying? And so let's try to together create a community that it's not that we don't want to use our ancestor stories. No, I still respect my ancestors. But if people are going to use words like sin and witch hunt and evil, and they're going to continue to use it, labeling each other, because that's what the ignorant groups do, the dysregulated ones, then I'm going to try my best to say, I get judgmental too and irritated, but you better bet there's no demonizing. There's 7, let me see if I can find it. There's 7 things that people do which creates distance. So like when I'm making fun of the people who piss me off, that's me distancing myself. And I'm doing it because it pains me to see these people that are hurting when there's a solution for them. That's the irritation. But others will think that I'm being a snot or snoot. And so it's something that I'm pretty much aware of. Thanks to all the attachment trauma educators, I know what I get to deal with. So here we go. Yes. The 7 Ds of disconnection. Detachment, separation, abandonment, isolation, dehumanization, disrespect, objectify, delusion, disconnected from truth, demoralization, hopelessness, despair, domination, silencing, division, fragmentation, duality, destruction, destabilization of things. So at the end of the day, the ones who do know how to use what is a successful mindset, I love this lady. She has an experimental mindset. I have the inner growth mindset. And so she says, use your mind like a scientific method, and you grow every step of the way. I'm going to say the body keeps the score. Thanks, Bezel Vanderkolk. I don't know if it's doctor, and the mind keeps the count. Thanks, Lisa Feldman Barrett. And she's the one who also informs us of effective realism. You're going to have dual awareness. Nervous system and body brain. We have all beliefs. We have stuff we come from. We all have tones and timbers. We have child parts. But when you're whole, even if you had fragmentation, you get earned secure attachment. Okay, so people can heal themselves. They go to good therapy, like my DID and disorganized attachment category course, where I got to meet DID lady who healed, and she's a therapist. And she wrote a book. And she said, I'm writing it so that people know they're not broken, but that they're fixable. So those who will honor themselves will honor the gift that is who they are, and they won't wear a mask, and they will also bring forth, therefore, the soul and spirit and ascension. You don't descend. The ones who continue to go up and down a merry-go-round, they're the same ones who continue with the good group and a bad group. And when you teach children about good or bad, it's you learn how to respect each other and to play nice. And that is why it's a third attunement, repairing rupture. No parent, no human, none of us are perfect. So we're always going to be risking to create wounds, which is why the compassionate, universal love, number one, compassion, as Dalai Lama shares, mother, the lovely Dr. Danny Siegel says, it's attachment figure. And this is for the regulars, you know what I'm talking about. Number two, compassion, love thy enemy. And as I like to point out, there is no enemy. There's just two groups of people, the emotionally mature, conscious, regulated leaders, and that's all of us who will choose to know how to turn the other cheek, to be blessed, to remember what Jesus taught us. The kingdom of God is within everyone, and Sadhguru reiterates, enlightenment, the seed is in everyone. Scientists, share with us, restored embodiment. Everyone can get there if they take the journey of healing themselves with a good therapist, for the ones who don't notice that they're dysregulating. As for the ones who think that I'm a pretender, I'm not. But I don't have to prove anything to anyone, because that's the whole point. Be yourself the smart way. Stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. There's an empowered composure in the presence of anyone who doesn't want to pretend, and it's the right silence that the Buddhist psychologists inform us of. So this is not a competition. No one does nervous system wrong. It's you will learn how to autonomously self-regulate. With that earned secure attachment, integrated brain, you'll find benefit from the lovely PayHip store and all the PDF stuff. Check out Substack. I do offer mentorship, coaching, consulting, whatever word you want to use. It's for people who have goals. So there's a free consult that we would set up and stuff like that. I'm just not in the habit of chit-chatting about that as much, but I do like to mention it from time to time. And with our 8-8 portal, we will probably have something, maybe a short, I don't know, but as I think of ways that I can interject with some of the case studies that I got to build up here, but I'll wait for another episode. In the meantime, again, when we're differentiating and linking, we're able to give ourselves this empowered steadiness, and that's why the composure. And then from here, you can support another, like my neighbor who was more scared apparently, and thanks to me being there, she was reassured. I got the news later from the father who called my mother, and they were all chit-chatting about this stuff. And so I didn't feel that I was not afraid, but everybody else that I got to engage with seemed to feel that I was calm, which is the essence of the ventral vagal state, because that's our ventral energy, which is why that's called eustress. But that doesn't mean I didn't get activated, and it doesn't mean I did not pick up. I did on all the we around me. Relational integrity. I didn't get affected. It doesn't contagious. It's not poison. You see what I'm saying? It's called picking up on nervous systems. Then you are already in your ease, because it's a safe haven, secure base, embodied brain of yours, and then the body releases it, which is why the panic attack could have come from all of that. We don't know. It's a number of things, and there's ascension energies about. But the part about not collapsing, not submitting, not faking it, and actually not crapping on myself either, because there's no shame. Some people are like, oh, you talk about panic attacks so easily. Yeah. Some people think, it's not true, you can't do that. And it's like, okay, wow. So in either cases, some will think that it's very nice to hear someone not being ashamed. Others will think you're not doing it, you're faking it. And then there's others who get curious, which are the ones that are going to continue to move into the future, because we all are curious about continuing to use that which is our embodied brain. So the human evolves, our species continues to build into the future, and our spiritual ones too, even though we may not be all together. The sciences don't get all together either. I lost the paper, but that's the part of why there's a group that sits in the middle. Typically those who want to sit on the sides don't like us very much, but they can always, maybe they'll decide to think about getting that integrated brain. And in the meantime, thanks for stopping by. Be yourself the smart way, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. Check out the Somatic-Mindset micro habit practices on PayHip, the free PDF, the one-day practice, and then the other bundles. And if you want, write questions on Substack, I'll be happy to answer, and or make episodes on that if you're curious. And in the meantime, have a good one.